And we're back with another bonus episode. This time I'm talking about Atlanta Carnival and Hookie weekend. Really just my one Hookie Fete for 2022. So here we go. I'm going to try to get through this episode without hearing baby Tingz in the background. Because I'm definitely in somebody's closet right now. Alright, so I took a much needed getaway to Atlanta for their carnival festivities during Memorial Day weekend. And I was mainly just so excited to see my friends and listen to some soca on the big speakers. And also looking forward to being outside in cute clothes and makeup, because when's the last time that I've really done that? Okay. And while Carnival is the main attraction for most people, I could have honestly cared less about it. If you've been following me on my platforms for a while, then you're likely already aware that US-based carnivals are not my cup of tea. I personally would rather save my coins for the real deal international versions where it's accepted, respected, and cherished. Not here in America, where these celebrations are misunderstood and high-key unwanted, right? So at least if I go to a bad fete abroad, there's a hot beach nearby where I can wash my aggravation away. So anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about Atlanta. So I purchased tickets to Vaval Kooler Fete, Sunchilla, which is more affectionately known as Sunday Morning Breakfast Fete, and SSS Red. Thankfully, the events got better in the end because the first fete was a bus. Okay? Now, I'm usually team early warm-up and set up with the DJs, but after a long travel day, it was hard to come up off that sofa. Like, we were stuck. And then the good part, which I felt was great because, again, we were stuck on the couch, was that the event actually got pushed back to 9 p.m. And I think we got to Vaval closer to like 11. Parking was already filling up, but we managed to find a space, and we made sure not to park in front of the residences like they informed us in the email. So, it was what it was. And after making it past security, we walked through this hot and humid, it was like a chop shop space. That's what it felt like to me, right? That was practically unoccupied. And then we walked out the back door and then found a bunch of people jamming to the sounds of the season, right? Now, unfortunately, only those people that were closer to the front of the DJ booth could get like a quality listening experience. So the question at hand was like, okay, well, how close can we get to the music without strangers breathing down our necks, right? Like, we still in COVID times, right? So we found a decent spot, and not even like 10 minutes into our little waistline warm-up, the music just shut off, and people start making their way inside to the hot shop. Now, eventually, when my homegirl went to the restroom, to the porta potty, some guy was just like, yeah, they're moving things inside because 50 came to address a noise complaint. And I'm like, okay, well, it would have been nice if somebody told us that. But anyway, so while inside, we're breathing hot, COVID-y air, and someone decided it really felt like they were playing a SoundCloud mix on like the poor sound system that was available inside. Now, don't get me wrong, the song selection on the SoundCloud mix, and again, I don't know if it's SoundCloud mix, but that's what it sounded like. It was lovely, right? It was great. It would have been great if it were on proper speakers, but my ears were not happy. So eventually, we see the speakers being brought in from outside, and someone finally decided to make an announcement about what was going on. So it took them about an hour or more to get the sounds going again, mic check, all that jazz. And during this time, like, word had officially gotten out that the DeKalb Carnival had been canceled. So it was shifting the energy in the space even more. All you see was people, venting and pulling out their phones and pulling out the notifications like, oh, did you hear about this? Blah, 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 blah. So anyway, so I listened to a couple vent sessions and I gave the I'm ready to go when you are message to my homegirl. And thankfully she was on the same page. We glided out and vowed to recycle our outfits for a more worthy event in the future. Listen. So the next day was the road, in air quotes. Since we were just observing the festivities, we weren't in any rush to head downtown. Like I brought like a couple pieces of, a little tiara, a little bra, or whatever. It just low key stuff to wear on the road. Nothing fancy. And so we took our time getting up. Right, we went to the ever so popular DeKalb Farmers Market. Like, if you have not been, you need to go. It's everything. It's everything I need. It's everything. Oh my God, and the apple danishes and the seasonings. Oh my God, for cheap. Anyway, all right, go to, if you go in Atlanta, go to the DeKalb Farmers Market and get your life. But anyway, so we freshened up and we threw on a few, we threw on our clothes for the day's events. And then even as we were arriving, it was obvious that things were winding down. And we got there around 3 o'clock. The official starting time was supposed to be, or at least this is what I read, was supposed to be 11 o'clock, but I don't know how accurate that was. I'm hoping that they started earlier and that was just a lie. But anyway, from the last two bands that we did see, I didn't feel like we missed much. And I'm 100% positive that I would have been upset if I paid money to participate in road in any fashion. Like, I don't even care if it was a t-shirt mass. I probably would have been upset. So anyway, it was so tight and there were so many stormers, self included. But again, I'm not sure what it was like earlier in the day. So long story short, I don't have enough information to give solid feedback on the Atlanta Carnival, air quotes, road experience. Okay. And since we still had tickets to the DeKalb, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but the DeKalb Carnival Village, we swung by there to see if we could salvage a piece of the day. Child, we didn't even make it past the mess that was the parking lot. The event was supposed to start at 4, and we got there by 4:35. I want to say it was closer to 4:30. And parking was already rammed. 50 was on the scene, making sure that folks didn't park in the 200 open parking spots that were right in front of our faces. And after 20 minutes of circling around pointlessly, we just happily rolled out. It was just very annoying. It's like, dude, there are spaces here. Why are you blocking them? And it's not like, it wasn't in an area that allowed you to park on the street. It was a mess. Like, it would have been nice. I'm pretty sure I could have got a little wine or something had we gone inside, but that wasn't even an option. Anyway, so we made an airport run. After that, we stopped by the liquor store and popped a couple bottles of wine when we got back to the house. And it was just an evening filled with chit chat and booze. And it was all that we needed. Like, it was an amazing night. We could have saved time, energy, and gas and did that the whole day. Let's sigh again. So, 2 days now of underwhelming experiences had me skeptical about what was to come. But my spirit ultimately couldn't piece together like how the next 2 events could fail me. Like, if a good time wasn't had at these next 2 events, there would like need to be like a major flaw in the execution from the promoter's perspective, Like, I know I'm gonna have fun at these next 2. Like, I got to have fun. Damn it. So anyway, so here comes Sunday. Hello, Sunday. And to ensure that we didn't miss out on anything, the plan was to arrive at Sunchilla an hour after it was slated to start. Right, so since ATL people seem to arrive promptly for parking, getting there early-ish was a must. I was like, well, these people just come out early way. Like I'm like, this is not normal for me. I'm so used to the New York vibe where it could be 3 hours into a 5 hour fete and it still be considered early, right? Plenty parking. Not in Atlanta. Anyway, so we got word actually that the start time had been pushed back, which was cool. I was okay with this. But at the same time, it had me raising an eyebrow like, Lord, what's wrong now? What happened? Because the last fete got pushed back. What are we doing? So anyway, we made it. People were still out there early AF, parking their cars. Our car was definitely like a 10-minute walk to the venue. I'm not even exaggerating. And so that goes to show you how many cars had already parked on the street, right? You could only park on one side, right? So imagine how many cars were out there if I had to walk 10 minutes just to get to the venue. Single rows. Anyway, I learned my lesson for next time though, because I realized some tricks and where you could park on that good Sunday if they have it at the same venue. But anyway, so we made it inside and we had a blast. The sweet sounds of soca were playing. The bar wasn't out of control. The food venues were there to save lives. And reuniting with so many old faces, it was priceless, right? It was really a beautiful event. But listen, the sun was out to kill. My skin only now just healing up from the sunburn. Tan lines still starring on my shoulders. Like what? It was brutal. And we stayed until the very end. Like we started leaving earlier, but as we were walking out, Avalanche started dropping popcorn tracks, and I was like, hey, wait, have to go back. And so your girl had to like make a whole U-turn to indulge in the dance hall session that I knew was on the horizon. And my soul was so full. It was officially full. So shout out to Jasper for getting that fete right. And then it was that tedious walk back to the car with sore legs and jacked up thighs, thigh burns, and again, the sun was out. But anyway, we made it, and it was so worth it. Walking back was a biatch. So anyway, so the last event for the weekend was you hear her in the background. Anyway, the last event for the weekend was SSS Red. Now, keeping with the trend, the goal was to arrive on time, especially since it was a Dutty Fete whose venue location wasn't even shared until the night before. Now, y'all know, again, I was getting hella skeptical about that. And my mentality was like, okay, let's arrive early just in case the venue busts. If it does, at least we can get a couple wines in before they shut the place down. Now, the fact that I'm traumatized in this way, like, it's bad. Like, I shouldn't have this trauma. Like, I just shouldn't. Why is this a thing? But anyway, so we get to the venue and I see that it was literally a small piece of land, a small piece of the mall's parking lot. And I was like, oh, this shit definitely getting shut down. In my head, I'm like, well, how the hell do you even secure a space like this? Like, how do you get approval for this? I mean, I'm not mad at it, but like, do what works. But I'm just like, I want to know how this works. But anyway, I was never so glad to be wrong. The fete never busts. We warmed up nice and then secured a permanent spot to release like our whatless behavior. And we got there like a little before 1, and by 5 o'clock, I was in the back of the car eating chicken, waiting on the rest of the crew. Because I was like, you know what, I'm good. Like, I think I'm good. Once I start hearing songs over and over again, it's time to go. Because how DJs do, and they come in, but you come late, but you didn't hear what the other person played, but you still gonna play these songs anyway. But anyway, but I'm glad that I escaped when I did, because the real rain came down with some cool air, and that if I was still in the Fete for that, I would have been a tad miserable. So I'm glad that I missed that. But it was nice to watch the rain as I ate it through, in the back of the trunk. Um, it's an SUV, so you know, giving you some context. But anyway, I don't have any complaints about SSS Red. My only recommendation to them would be to get some better food vendors, because I'm still trying to figure out how that one restaurant thought it was okay to serve macaroni pie that looked burnt AF on the top. Because last time I checked, the dish should be like a yellow orange in color, not black and brown. Needless to say, I got out that food line after seeing that madness. Like, I waited a while in that line, and then when I got to front and I saw the presentation, I was like, oh no, I'm not even going to attempt to give you all my money. And I left. But anyway, all in all, Atlanta was a great time, mostly, again, because of the people I had the pleasure of being around for the weekend. It was always about the friends, and just attending the fetes were definitely just a perk. Because, and let me tell y'all, since I love my belly, I have to recommend this restaurant that we visited, Rumi's Kitchen in Sandy Springs. There are other locations as well, but the Sandy Springs is the one that we went to. Listen, just do it. Just go. It's Persian cuisine. I don't know if it's, you might be frowning your face up, but no, you need to go. Persian cuisine that will knock your carnival boots off. It was so delicious. Get the chicken wings. But anyway, so now let's talk about Hookie Life 2022. So I already knew this year was going to be different, a different kind of flex for me because of baby Tingz. But to be honest, like, even without her in the equation, I probably still would have moved similarly as I did this year. It's like, so let me give you a rundown. So I dislike the venue that they used for the event on Thursday for release therapy. And it was also it's indoor, so just like, yeah, not doing that. And I'm not really into fetes that have performances, so I wasn't interested in the Friday event, which is Hookie itself, Hookie Arcade. And I had just finished getting dirty at SSS Red, so I wasn't in the mood to go through that whole cleaning process again. So Juve was a no for me, which left Rhythm and Road, which is my favorite event of the weekend, honestly. And if I didn't have a personal training session on the Monday, then I would have given their cool down event a shot, which was called Oasis. And I really actually did want to go to that, but it's all good. But so all I can give you information on is Rhythm and Road, which is always a vibe, especially if you're not the kind of person that has to rely on a super duper large crowd for you to, keep a hype. So they had a new off-road route, so that we did go around the racetrack, but then they kind of went off into a cut, and I was just like, where the hell are we going? But anyway, it was cool. It was a nice break from the slanted racetrack. If you've ever been to Rhythm and Road, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the track can be a bit much on your knees and on your legs, because you're literally slanted the whole time, and it's very annoying. But anyway, they had a proper bar. I don't remember if it was like that the year before, because my memory is just going bad. But it was an evolution from the drink chits. I remember when it first started, they used to give us, I think it was 3 or 5 drink chits, and then you would, that's your maximum for the day. But this time it was unlimited, which was cool. And I think I had 2 drinks, and yeah, but I was still sober-ish. But then I felt it hours after, because the bartenders were heavy-handed. And they had 2 music trucks this time. I think it's always been 1 in the past. Again, blame me for not remembering. And I will say that Close Connections was dearly missed. They have gone into retirement. And we had Avalanche, and I can't remember who the other DJs were, but I just know that I missed Close Connections and that dance hall session they used to give us before the event ended, but it's all good. Maybe maybe next year we'll get that session. Um, so like people used to enjoy Hookie because it was a fairly inexpensive weekend getaway that allowed for proper connection with members of the local community. And if the Hookie folks are listening to this, like understand like less is more. Like I think a lot when I was asking people how the weekend's event felt, like everybody had a great time, but like when we think about like the layout of all the new events, it was just like, yeah, they were doing too much. But I don't know. I mean, options, people like options, which was cool. The only thing for me was I had two things. So one, I didn't see the point of the whole costume launch situation and them, you know, offering costumes for Rhythm and Road. I was just like, let's leave R&R simple, right? The whole appeal of that event was wearing an old costume piece or wearing Monday wear that you made or whatever the case may be, and enjoying yourself. Spending a couple $100s for several hours of fetting around the raceway, the slanted raceway, it wasn't adding up for me. And a lot of people didn't understand what that was supposed to be either. So it's just like, yeah, can we leave that out of the equation next time? Maybe it did offer some business opportunity for, local designers, which is cool. But, to each their own. I just didn't feel like that aspect was needed for Rhythm and Road. And then the other thing, can we please move the date back to the last weekend in June? Because that whole Father's Day, Juneteenth weekend situation, it was not popping, fam. Those are my only two things about Hookie Life that kind of irked me. And granted, maybe y'all weren't able to secure the venue for the usual time, and I get that. But try hard to get the original June dates back. And that was it. The other thing, that happened was like I had to travel with when I went to Atlanta. I was like trying to figure out how to do this whole breast milk pump situation, and it was fine. I packed all my supplies, the pump, the empty bags, the cooler, the little cooler with the ice packs or whatever, and they let me through with my milk at the end. I just pumped, and I was not pumping and dumping because the liquid gold is too precious, okay? But I pumped and I stored the milk in the freezer, went through TSA without a problem. They didn't even check it, they didn't even open it. And I was like, okay, all right, this works, I can do this. But yeah, so the whole experience was great. Driving down, now I'm talking about Hookie to Hookie with baby Tingz, that was interesting. That was long because we're coming from the New England area, which was supposed to be like a 5.5 hour drive, but it ended up being like 9 hours because we had to stop so many damn times. So yeah, not doing that again. Yeah, so that was it. But that's my recap for ATL and Hookie Weekend, and wishing you all a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful July, especially for those of you who are heading out to SLU, Essence Fest, wherever it is that you're traveling for July. Have a blast, be safe, and stay protected from the COVID.